So in this session, I will be telling you briefly about the background of industry, then education 4.0. What is education 4.0? So education 4.0, before I start with my presentation, a brief background about myself. I am mechanical engineer. I have done my BE in mechanical and ME in industrial materials and metallurgy, followed by PhD related to some practical work in the boiler plants, from where during my PhD I was also, out of that I was also granted a patent. I did certain research projects with of DST, AICTE, and I have been involved in in my previous institute providing patents. I joined NITA Chandigarh as professor in 2020. So my journey here is not very old. In NITER, I have now crossed more than 3 years. I have more than 3 years of experience in NITER Chandigarh, where I am now presently heading this department, Entrepreneurship Development and Industrial Coordination Department at NITER Chandigarh. So basically, about this FDP, we had got one request from one government polytechnic to conduct this particular FDP at their institute, but due to certain reasons, it was postponed and cancelled 2 3 times. So now we planned, I along with Harsh sir, we plan to do this FDP in the online mode, where now we have 5 remote centers connected with us, as well as many more than 70 participants connected through NITER. Now, dear participants, a very, very important aspect where we all are educationists, we all are teaching in educational institutes, is education. So, let us try to understand in this session what is Education 4.0. But during this session, I would invite you to give your viewpoints wherever necessary and wherever you uh, consider is it apt. So, it is not a one-way session. I would request you all to kindly give your inputs, because, as I told you in the morning, when we interact with each other, then we come to know more things. Now, here I will give you in this the introduction to Education 4.0, then introduction to Industry 4.0, a little introduction, technologies of Industry 4.0, or the skills required for Industry 4.0. I will just give the names here on the in the next session, which is scheduled on Friday. There I will tell you in detail the details of the skills required for various technologies of Industry 4.0. Then integration of Industry 4.0 technologies in Education 4.0. We need to understand Industry 4.0 in order to understand Education 4.0. Before I start, I would like to pinpoint uh, the placement and pass out trends of our AICT affiliated institutes. So if you visit the AICTE website, there on the dashboard, there this graph is given. I have taken this graph from the AICT website. If you see here over the years in 2000, this is this output of our education. What is the output of our education? See, when we about AICT affiliated institutes, we all are professional institutes. So the major concern is that when a student goes out from this institute, what is the placement of that student? How is it? See, main purpose is to get a job or to have its own company or to be placed somewhere. So if you see the trend in 2017 to 18, if you see here, this first graph represents the number of approved intake of AICTE. The next one gives you the total enrollment. Out of these seats, only these seats were filled. The third graph where I am pointing, this tells us how many students have passed. And the last one tells us how many students have been placed. So if you compare it with the intake and if you compare it with the placed persons, it is very, very less, even less than 1/4 of the total improved intake of the students or the seats. Only this much percentage of students are placed. Similarly, you can see the further trends 2018, 19, 19, 20, 2021, and the latest one 22, 23. So this is the latest trend. This is the number of placed. You will see another thing, that the number of approved intake is also reducing, and the number of students passed. So overall, This graph from 2017 to 18 to 22 23 is this is reducing. So these are the actual figures taken for the AICT. Now, can anyone give any input? What is the reason of this? If our major output, see, when we are doing some program, if the outcome of that program is not fulfilled, that means there is some problem in the system, or there is some problem in the education system, or there is some problem in certain ways, that we are not able to achieve 100%, not even 100, very less, 20% result outcome. So when we show this graph to a number of, when I go, sometimes we do these programs in face to face mode also. So mostly I ask them, what is the problem? The first problem is that, why, after the student has taken admission, the first question comes, why does the student leaves? If you see, total enrollment and the number of students passed is also less. So in certain institutes, they share their thing, like in polytechnics, they tell us, okay, one reason is that the students come from, like if we talk about Punjab, they come from they have studied till 10th in Punjabi. Immediately, as soon as they reach in the polytechnic, the entire mode of communication or the curriculum is in English. And also, they have shared that they find maths very difficult immediately after coming from 10th and going directly to polytechnic. These are the problems. So the students, so sometimes they take admission, but there is a dropout in the first year only, and certain students are not even able to pass the diploma. And out of the total enroll, then the next question is, they are not industry ready, and certain times the industries are not the industries do not find these students uh, fit for their industry. So now here we can have 2-3 minutes discussion. Like I told you one example, these polytechnic people, they are facing this problem. Any local problem you have in your place or at your institute, anyone wants to share? Okay, this is an actual fact we have taken from the AICT website. So anything you want to share, okay, this is the problem we are sharing. Maybe the others will also find, okay, yes, this is the problem which we are having at our institute. So anyone from remote centers or connected directly, they can give their input. Is this the problem they are facing at their institute also?
Culture level issues, because see, urban the deep rural areas have got a different structure of culture, and then when they come down to bigger
Structure.
cities,
Yes.
bigger cities like Lucknow, or sometimes even Noida or Greater Noida and all, they find immense change into the daily culture, which is also sometimes difficult
Change.
to adjust.
Very true. Very true. I agree with sir. There are two things. They are from a different background. When they come to big cities, they get, you can say, also, it is the first time that they are independent from their parents. So a lot of cultural issues, different issues come here. Now in our Chandigarh also, there are a number of universities, private universities, which are near Chandigarh. So the children from far away places, they want to study here only, but the reason is that they want freedom and they want to enjoy themselves, and they are not much concerned what is the level of the studies there. So very true. These are the 2 points which we have come to know from these two participants and one from remote center. So very true, sir. So okay. So moving back to the my presentation. So that is a good input. So what you can do is, you have to find out what is the problem which you people are facing in your institute and how you can solve it. So now in this NEP 2020 also, they have we have the government is emphasizing that we should have these technical subjects in our mother language, so that the students can understand. If you have certain tough topics, if you can translate it in Hindi or Punjabi or the local language, then I think when the student comes from his from a school where he has studied in his mother language, mother tongue, then it is easy for him to go through this transaction after 10th or after 12th, when he or she comes to the institute. So I think most of you are familiar with this problem. That means this is a problem. We need to change the education system in some way, so that this graph matches, the placement graph matches with the graph of the enrolled, or at least to the past students, the number of students who have passed. Now coming back to our topic, education 4.0. Education 4.0 is a learning approach associated with the fourth industrial revolution. I will tell you what is this fourth industrial revolution. It aims to transform education in the future through cutting edge technology and through automation. So, education 4.0 is the current period in which higher education institutions apply new learning methods, innovative didactic and management tools, and smart and sustainable infrastructure, mainly complemented by new and emerging ICTs to improve knowledge generation and information transfer processes. So, if you see our the FDP schedule, there also we have tried to add these new management tools. Combining these resources during teaching learning processes will support the training and development of desirable critical competencies in today's students. So, what is Education 4.0? Today's education is given the name of Education 4.0. In the coming slides, we will also go through what was Education 1.0, 2.0, 3.0. So, today we are in the era of 4.0. So, in this session, we will try to understand the various strategies or the various components of Education 4.0. But before we move to Education 4.0, it is important that we understand where did this term Education 4.0 came from. So, Education 4.0 is in parallel with Industry 4.0. So, before going to the four eras of education, let us understand how, in the surrounding areas, along with the education, the industrial revolution took place. So, this thing is clear that we all technical people, we are for the industry. We are training the students, we are educating the students for working in the industrial sector. So we need to know how the industrial revolutions are taking place so that we can have our education system, Education 4.0, parallelly with the industrial revolution. So the first revolution is also known as mechanical weaving. If you see the timeline starting from, see, these are only rough estimates, not exact years. In the late 1780s, this first industrial revolution came. Then this was followed by second industrial revolution, which we call as introduction of moving assembly line at Ford Motors. The third industrial revolution, we were part of this third industrial revolution, which are PLC's first programmable logic controller as well as the robots. And now today we are in the fourth industrial revolution starting from 2014, where we talk about real-time self-optimizing connected systems. All these are the history of the industrial revolution 4.0. Today we are in industry 4.0, and today we are in education 4.0 era. So a little bit, just a brief history of these four industrial revolution. If you are familiar with this, the industrial revolution 1 came in the country United Kingdom. Britain's were the successor. They came to introduce new mechanism of production on the basis of water and steam. So, participants, can you imagine an era where there was no machinery, there was no industry? So, that era, before the Industrial Revolution 1, that era was known as, that means no industry was there. But during these 1780s in UK, this they started the mechanism of production of water and steam. So when steam engine was invented by James Watt. They collaborated and made this steam engine. Can you imagine the work which was done by hand or with the help of animals, domesticated animals? That work now could be done by machines. Before that, just imagine an era where there were no machines at all. That means a whole work, household work, agricultural work, traveling, everything was done by hands, and only there was no machines. So when this steam engine came, they started using this concept of steam engines for taking work. That means the floor mills. Before that, we had these hand driven, what we call in Hindi, chakkis and all. So now the floor mills were automated, means the machines were operating these. The paper and cotton mills, otherwise initially they had these hand weaving charkas. Now the paper and cotton mills, they started working on steam engine theory. Iron works, distilleries, water works, canal works, all these things started, they started using steam engine for this. Similarly, for transportation also, Just imagine that the only mode of transportation before the steam engine, before this industrial revolution one, was by foot or by using some horses and also animals. But now, when these two parts came, that is steam engines in the locomotives as well as in the industry, so the work which used to take 10 to 20 days, that could be done in few hours. The journey which used to take a number of days, now you could easily now you could easily go through these steam engines, even through ships. They were initially they were manual, now steam powered ships came. So if you see here, this technology that came in Britain or UK, that means that is why during that time this UK, Britain, they were ruling over so many countries. See, they didn't have any raw material. Just imagine, they used to take from India also. They used to take raw cotton, and they had these mills. The only thing was that they was ahead in the technology. So they had these mills. In the mills, they were converting this cotton into textiles, and that textile cloth again they were bringing back to the other countries like India and all, and they were selling it at a higher cost. So whenever there is some new technology, whoever is the pioneer, definitely they get an edge over others. So they were very rich during that time. Britons, they were ahead of in technology, they because the technology had been devised in UK. So this part is clear. So just imagine when these first industries came and the work could be done so fast, people got the labor which people had to do, that drastically decreased. So this is a brief about the industrial revolution 1.0. Now this continued. Now when they had this steam engine, other countries also started using steam engines for doing various works. Then came, so this the second era, when which we call as industrial revolution 2.0. Now the second industrial revolution, it became in the 19th century through the discovery of electricity and assembly line production. All of you might have heard this name of Henry Ford. He took the idea. He was the person who was you can name him that he was pioneer, or he was the person behind industrial revolution 2.0. Actually, he brought the idea of mass production, and he introduced this line, assembly line production or mass production. And during this industrial revolution too, electricity was also there. Discovery of electricity also took place. Now this industrial revolution too, now what is the theory or a small story behind industrial revolution 2.0? If you can see this first figure, now this person Henry Ford, all of you are familiar with him. He has this Ford company, Ford automobiles. He is the owner of Henry Ford, American car company, automobile company. So when he was already manufacturing Ford cars, but the process was very slow, because at that time they had this machinery. So they used to do some work on some part, then that has to be taken to the other workshop, then some work will be done on that. Then some work will be done on that. So this is how they used to the work was done, but very slow. So what happened, once he happened to visit one butcher house where the meat was prepared, and he observed that this they were cutting the meat. What they did was, can you see this rope? They had tied this pig, let us say it is a pig, and this pig is moving on this sort of conveyor belt. Each person is standing on its place. So these are the workstations of the persons. This pig is moving, the person is not moving. So each person is cutting one piece and preparing meat. For example, he's cutting one leg, the next one will cut another leg. Likewise, by the end of this cycle, the entire meat was prepared, and he saw that the time taken for cutting the or preparing the meat, cutting the meat like this was drastically less. So this concept was not there till then. The concept of conveyor belt, or you can call it as assembly line concept, was not there. So he introduced that concept. If you see the bottom figure, if you see here, he introduced that concept in his own company. And if you see here, this is now a conveyor belt. This is a part of the machine of the automobile called flywheel. So he had this flywheel. This flywheel will move from one place till the end of the line, and each person is standing on its own place and adding a part. This Flywheel actually requires a number of parts, some nuts, some bolts, some screws, till it is completely finished, till the flywheel is totally prepared. So the same concept of assembly line he introduced in his company, and due to which the concept of mass production and assembly line production came. So thus, just imagine, otherwise one person is doing some work, then he will take that piece to another place, that person will do some work, then will go to another place. So lot of time was wasted while doing the work which was been done previously. So if you can notice, dear participants, this assembly line is actually now which has led to automation. These days the automatic things which you see, the concept started from here. So this second revolution, since Ford company was in America, so we can say that America was the second revolution first started in America, and from there then it went to all other countries. So again, this was a very important revolution, because the maximum of the changes, this is till now, this industrial revolution 2 is considered as to be the most important industrial revolution. What other things took place during this? Railroads, then iron and steel production, then machinery in manufacturing, then telegraph, then use of petroleum, and definitely another very important thing, that is the beginning of electrification. Electricity was introduced. So this is considered a number of things, number of changes came during the industrial revolution 2.0. Now, participants, let us move to Industrial Revolution 3.0. Followed by this came the Industrial Revolution 3.0 in the 70s, in the 20th century. Many of us are part of this Industrial Revolution 3.0, where partial automation and memory programmable controls and computers were introduced. All of you must be aware that when I was doing my degree, then computers, they were introduced. And in India also, in our country also, computers came. But whenever, dear participants, this type of revolution is there, there is always some opposition. So I still remember when these computers were introduced, so many of the people, they didn't want to use computers. There were two problems. One is they didn't want to learn the new theory, new computers. Second is they were afraid that what will happen to the jobs. So this we will also take the challenges what these industrial revolutions have. So in the last few slides, we will also see the challenges of this revolution. So always whenever there is a change, there is always some opposition from the people when we have to introduce some new things. So when these computers came, even when these robots came, so everybody was very afraid, okay, why we are using this. Even I remember in banks, they didn't want to use the computers. When they had introduced these computers in banks, they didn't want to use the computers for doing work. So always there is some opposition when some new technology is introduced. Now, since the introduction of these technologies, we are now able to automate an entire production process without human assistance. So you are all are aware that by using this during this industrial revolution, many things have been automated. So other major thing which took place during this third industrial revolution was electronics, communication, and computers. I still remember when we were doing engineering, this electronic branch was very sort of. Computers came late, but electronics and communication was the topmost branch which every student wanted to take. And now it is computers. These days, everybody wants to do BTech computer or diploma in computers only. So these new technologies, the third revolution, it opened the doors to space also. Space expeditions took place, research also took place, and another very important concept, that is biotechnology concept, also came in the third industrial revolution. In the world of the industries, two major inventions, programmable logic controller PLCs and robots, they helped to give rise to an era of high level automation. So all this automation, it started in the third industrial revolution. And another very important thing which we are forgetting is which took place in third industrial revolution is the nuclear energy. Nuclear energy was also tapped during this industrial revolution. So now we have, these days you all are aware that we have these robots, we have autonomous robots, we have these drones. All these started in the third industrial revolution. Now moving to the present era, that is which we call as industry 4.0. or fourth industrial revolution. So we are currently implementing the fourth industrial revolution. We are today in the era of fourth revolution, which is also known as industry 4.0, I 4.0. So it is characterized by the application of information and communication technologies to industry. It builds on the development of, so it is developed from the previous revolution, third revolution. What does this industry 4.0 says? It says that the production systems that already have a computer technology and are expanded by a network connection and have a digital twin on the internet. So I will be in my next session, I will be telling you in detail about this digital twin, about metaverse, about various technologies. But here, just to introduce you to education 4.0, we are just understanding what is this fourth industrial revolution. These allow communication with other facilities and the output of information about themselves. So this is the next step in production automation. It is a next step in the production automation. So these are some of the technologies or major technologies which is driving industry 4.0. Participants, you must be aware of these technologies. We will be discussing these technologies, skills required for these technologies in the next session. Now, some of these technologies are autonomous robots, artificial intelligence, horizontal and vertical integration. That is the industries. They should be horizontally as well as vertically integrated. Industrial Internet of Things, cyber security, very important technology, additive manufacturing, which is also known as 3D. Now we also have 4D manufacturing. I will be telling you briefly about these technologies. Augmented reality, virtual reality, and big data analytics and cloud computing also. So these are certain technologies which are the major technologies driving your industry 4.0. Today's industry means industry 4.0. So we will be studying about these industries, technologies driving industry 4.0 in the last session. But today, in parallel to industry 4.0, today now we will talk about the transition from education 1.0 to education 4.0. Like, dear participants, I showed you how we moved from industrial revolution 1 and today we are in industrial revolution 4.0. Similarly, parallel to that, we have moved from education 1.0 to education 4.0, because we are directly connected with industry. So our education system should be such that it should match with the industry, what are the needs of the industry. So this is the transition period. If you see, from education 1.0 to education 4.0, please see here, I have listed, I have taken it from one of the papers, and the education 1.0, 2.0, 3.0 and 4.0. The period is similar to the period of industry 4.0, industry 1.0, 2.0, 3. That means when the industrial revolutions were coming, parallelly we also had the education systems. So education 1.0 came during the period of 18th century, then during early 20th century, then late 20th century, and presently we are in the education 4.0. So this time period is clear. This is parallel to industry 4.0. Then what is the philosophy? Please move. Let us move. Hope this slide is visible to you. Let me enlarge it a little bit. So now when we move to the second point in the education system, philosophy. What was the philosophy in 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, 4.0? So here during this, I will also like to take some inputs from your side. So if you see, during the 18th century, what type of education system was there? Can anybody give some input? During the earlier education system, the philosophy which was there as per this chart, essentialism, behaviorism, and instructivism. If you remember, dear participants, if we take the example of our country, during the 18th century or before that, the system of education, if you see, even before that, what was the type of system? If you see the time of your kings and all, there they used to send their kids to the forest, and they used to have one guru, na, guru shiksha. if you remember, if you see
Gurukul,
our
called as
mythologies,
Gurukul.
Mahabharata and all, so there Gurukul,
Yeah.
yes, very true, ma'am. So that was the system we had before, earlierly. Very true, ma'am. So they used to go to Gurukul, and see, there they used to follow their guru. Whatever was taught to them, the behavior, whatever instructions they used to get to them. So they used to experience that particular behavior. So they had to go to the guru's place and they had to learn various whatever tools or whatever education they were giving them, how to various techniques of using the weapons and all. So that was before that. So in education 1.0, if you see, the basically, the if you see the second part, sage means you have a single guru. The teacher is teaching everything, the teacher is giving all the instructions, and the teacher is giving to the students. So here during the education 1.0, largely the role, if you see the next line, the role of the student was largely passive. Passive means the teacher is coming, he is giving, and mostly the education was one sided, only teacher is giving the inputs. The student or whoever is the person who is studying, the student's role is just to take the information and grasp it and pass some papers. So this was the system, education 1.0. And but now when education 2.0 came, then it became andragogical, or constructive means now they started giving some constructive, the teachers started giving some constructive inputs. Andragogical here means we have pedagogical means which is for the students, but here it is for the adults. Now the education was adult centric. If you move to education 3.0, heutagogical word actually means problem solving. When we moved to the late 20th century, now the students were, the philosophy which was followed was heutagogical or connectivities. Now today the education 4.0, if you see, heutagogical actually means problem solving. We are giving some problem to the students and they are solving it. Pedagogical means peer, from the peers means when a class of 50 students is there, then the students are also learning from their other students. Cybergogical, that we know that from the computers, from the internet, from cyber means their computer, so they are learning a lot of things from related to the from the internet also. So if you see this philosophy graph, where only in the education 1.0, only the teacher was teaching, then it became a bit constructive. Then education 3.0 became that the student should learn, and using that knowledge, he should be able to solve some problems. And today, what they are saying, that the learning is not only that the teacher is teaching you and you are learning, you have to learn from your colleagues also, you have to learn from the internet also. So it is a mixture of all this. You have to be a problem solver also. So this is our type of education which we need to give to the students. Now in the next line we have the educator role. What was the teacher? He was mostly sage, here means guru. There was guru and shikshak. Then the role of this educator became guide, information source. Then they started acting as guide. The teacher was called as a guide to the student. Now in education 3.0, it became orchestra, means now he orchestrates the students. He is also, or the teacher is also a curator, and the teacher is also a collaborator. And today, if you see, the education 4.0 says that the teacher has to be a mentor, the educator or the teacher, I am saying here, actually it is educator. He has to be a coach, he has to be a collaborator, and he has to be a reference also, where they can refer to that mentor. So this is how, if you see, the educator role is today in education 4.0. After students role, now we will have some inputs from the participants also. Students role, you are aware, in education 1.0, it was mostly largely passive. The student was passive, he only took knowledge, he didn't involve himself or herself. And emerging active owning of the knowledge. Now they started giving knowledge, and it started being active. And in education 3.0, it was totally active, knowledge ownership, initial independence. So the student was given independence of gaining the knowledge himself also. Today, if you see today's students, they are highly active, highly independent, and they are trajectory designers. They can even design the path. So why the reason for that? If you see in education 4.0, lot and lot of things are now available. Now today we say that, because sir, if you will agree with me, pehle what used to be, let us take an example of a dictionary. Suppose there was some tough word, some difficult word, and you want to find the meaning of that word. A tough word is there. So what was the source? Either you will ask the teacher, or you have a dictionary, or you have a book. So what was any other mode? No other mode was there. Then dictionaries, you used to follow dictionary, you see the meaning, you understand it. If you want to take some knowledge, you go to the library. So library or your teacher, these were the two sources. And if you want to study some subject, the notes were given by the teacher. But then slowly, if you see, with the emergence of education, what happened? Then internet came. Then we had this Wikipedia. Whatever knowledge you want to take, you can take from Wikipedia. So now there was no dictionary. Our children, they are not even aware of these dictionaries. They don't even refer to the dictionaries. Even they don't even go much to the libraries, because all these things are now available online. Then the third part came. Now even if you see, students started doing programming, learning spellings and all. But now this thing has, what has come now? Instead of that, now we have chat gpt. See, what we are talking in education 4.0 till now in the schools, if today we are teaching in the schools that you have the way of writing a letter, I don't think in the next coming years the children will be taught how to write a letter, because already these programs are there. Chat gpt, you tell chat gpt I want to write a letter, they will write a letter to you. In your computer science engineering, we are teaching students program, different how to write a program. But now this chat gpt has come. Now that program will be written by chat gpt. So what will happen to those persons who are learning? What will happen to our education system in the coming years? That is what we have to ponder upon. Do you agree, participants? Let me go back. What
Yes, ma'am. In
by
fact, it is
this
taking various of the jobs as well. The level of employment will also go
yes,
down.
yes, that is very true. See, and the type of jobs, sometimes now I'm not able to, so the types of jobs which will be there, so that will also change. Now people are saying that there will be, even when this chat gpt has come, now people are saying that you don't even, in the near future, you won't even have to go to the attorney for writing a case. Automatically you give the input to the chat gpt, it will write the entire case for you. Even like we are taking help of these attorneys or patent attorneys to write a patent. So all these things will come online. Chat gpt is already there. Very true. Any other input from anybody? How our education system will be there in the coming years? So here we are teaching the students, see, knowledge, material they have, all the material. If you want to teach them some subject, already so much of material is there on swam portal, on neptl. So many videos are there. Initially the role of teacher was to give them notes, to give them material, but now you don't need to give them material is already there. Even sometimes the students, they have already read it and already they know it. What we have to teach with them is how to utilize that material, how to solve a problem. Yes, now we can take one or two inputs from the participants, then we will move further.
So, ma'am, we shall
Anyone
rather
from?
move towards experiential learning rather than
Yes,
being
experiential.
focused towards the traditional teaching pattern. Moreover, 21st century learning skill or experiential learning is more preferred nowadays.
Very true,
Learning
ma'am.
by doing.
Experiential. Yes, that is what we are talking about, that we need to introduce experiential learning. Very true. Anybody else want to give their any input? What type of behavior? See, I was teaching in engineering college. Even in these 22 years only, I was in mechanical engineering department. So lot of changes have come in the students. When you see the students who are coming to our engineering colleges, so already they are ahead. If you talk about using these tools or using these phones, using these smart things, they are already ahead of us in online things and all. So they have, now they are very very active. So very true, ma'am. Then moving forward, what is the approach we have to follow? From teacher centered, where it was in education 1.0, it was teacher centered. Now it is peer assessment encouraged. Peer means your colleagues or the students friends. High teacher importance. co-constructed first student centered. So it is now education 3.0 was student centered, whereas initially it was teacher centered. Whatever teacher is saying, that will be done. Mostly now it is mostly student centered. Today education 4.0. When we talk about the outcome, please see here, when I talked in the first slide, when we are teaching, we need to know the outcome also. So what was the main learning outcome in the education 4.0? It was grades, graduation degree. What was their major purpose? Ha bhai, I have taken admission in this college, I am doing BA, I am doing MA, I will do complete my degree, I will get certain grades, and I will get a graduation degree. Based upon that, I will get a job. So this was the majorly learning outcome during education 1.0. Then during education 2.0, license to professional practices. Then came prepared for practice and scenario analysis. And today, what is the learning outcome? Training of key competencies, both soft and hard. So today we want that education system 4.0 states that it is not only that you have given them a degree and they have got a graduation degree and they will go, but they need to be trained in the various competencies, both soft and hard. So here we that is why I was talking about industry 4.0. So whatever are the technologies, they should be competent in those technologies what are related to their field. And what are the enablers? Enablers means what are the things which were available in education 1.0, the tools which were available with education 1.0. If we go back into the history, we only used to had some mechanical printing, or even we used to have that typewriters. Pencils were used, ball pen typewriters, even computers were not there initially. Then with the event of computers or electronic devices or calculators came. Today in the education 3.0, all the computers were there. Widespread use of internet. Major thing which came in 3.0 was internet. See, computers also made the work faster, but what major thing came was the internet. By the internet you could get a lot of knowledge. And today what do we have? Today in education 4.0, we have ICT tools and platforms powered by IoT. I will show you various tools, some examples where we can use IoT in our education system. So we have various tools. We can have studies, gamification. We have one session of gamification, how you can introduce various tools in your education. Information source, this we have already covered. As I told you, there were only standard books or standard texts available which you could refer. Even if some of you have done PhD during that time, I still remember, if I want to refer to some paper for some research paper, then I had to either go to some library. Let us say IIT Roorkee was there. I did my PhD in 2010, completed my PhD in 2010. So if I want to refer to some paper, I had to go to IIT Roorkee. Then I used to go sit there, search various papers. Then I used to request them for the photocopy, and then we used to photocopy it and bring the research paper. So it was so difficult. Then later on, these computers came, internet came, but then these papers were also not available on the internet. So certain were paid. So this is how this took place. So standard texts were available. Then adopted text and open source materials started coming. Physical materials started coming. Text, case studies, second hand experience we have. Then last, today everything is online, on online sources. So just can you imagine, like if many of you are PhD here, so when we publish a paper, there comes a date, you give it to the publisher, and the paper is published on a particular date. Just imagine in olden days. That is why you must have heard, okay, sometimes what happened, a scientist in one country has done certain research, at the same time parallelly another scientist has done same research. So there was not much source of sharing also. So they used to have these seminars and all. They used to the scientists used to collect at one place, and they used to share their knowledge, or they had to visit the other country to meet that particular scientist. So the process was very slow, because the information source was very slow. But today, based on online sources, immediately something is published, immediately you can get access to that. So there is a change in education system in the information source also. Now, what were the various facilities at that time? We had universities, we had classrooms, we had these colleges. Then came more and more focus, then started coming on blended laboratories and classrooms in the second education. Then in the third education 3.0, blended type of mode came, flexible physical shared spaces came, and especially after this COVID period, we know now we have cyber and physical spaces, both shared and individual, and online system, especially after this COVID. Now this lecture which we are taking, see, this is also a online mode only. Now we are interacting with each other, so we have so many of facilities for interacting also. And last one is, as it is related to industrial technology, during that time period mechanical systems were there. This I have already covered in my brief history to industry 4.0. So during education 1.0 we had mechanical systems, steam powered systems only. Then mass production came during education 2.0 was there, when industry 2.0 was there. Industrialization took place, electricity was introduced. And during 3.0 we had this internet access, automation and control. And today we have virtualization, digitalization and connectivity. We are connected through these all resources. So dear participants, I hope this is a very informative slide. I will share my PPT with you all, which is telling us about the transition which has taken place from education 1.0 to education 4.0. It tells us the entire history of our
Ma'am, your
education
slide
system.
is not visible.
Okay. So, dear participants, this is the entire cycle of education 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, and 4.0 present. So, we have covered all these points, how from education 1.0, today we are in the education 4.0 era. And all of you will agree that these are the things which are required in education 4.0 era. So after this industrial technologies, how these technologies are also emphasizing or influencing our education system, education 4.0. So this is the entire transition. As I told you, I will be sharing this PPT with you all, and you can keep it for your reference. Now moving forward, what are the, now we have understood the history, how we have moved from education 1.0 to education 4.0, in line with the changes which were taking place in industry 1.0 to industry 4.0. So now what are the components, since we are today in the education 4.0, what are the components of education 4.0 in our higher education system? So please see here. Here we have now covered, we will be understanding the four major things: competencies, the learning methods, information and communication technologies, and the infrastructure, which are the four core components of education 4.0. We will try to understand this through this slide. Now, if we go to the competencies, if we move to the, in the previous slide, I talked about soft and hard competencies in the previous slide. So what are the soft and hard competencies which are required, which are the part of education 4.0? So participants, if you see here, the soft competencies, they include critical thinking, they include cooperation, collaboration, communication, creativity, and innovation. And you all will agree that our teaching system today should be such that these components are there in the education system. And if you move to the hard competencies, what are the different competencies which are required? Training and development of functional, technical, and technological knowledge and skills for successful workplace performance. So that, now what is the in brief meaning of this? The student has to be competent, so that we have to give them training and we have to develop their various technologies or their knowledge, such that when he actually goes to the workplace, he's able to use that knowledge, he's able to use that competency to work in a new place. We know that in our technical institutes, a student after doing his degree, after doing his diploma, he will be going to a new workplace, that will be his new workplace. So we need to give these competencies, training and development of the students, so that by the time he goes to the new workplace, that is the industry, he is able to adapt to that new place. These type of competencies have to be given to the student or to the learner. Then the second important part is we need to promote the capacity to research, design, create, and implement new technologies. So here we have to be, the education system has to be such that he has the ability or the capacity to research, he's able to create, he's able to design, and he's able to implement. If you know this, if you will agree with me, in NBA also, when we are making these outcomes, we are writing these outcomes. This is what they, and when we are preparing these days, when we are preparing their question papers, they ask us to add these things, that after studying that particular subject, the student is able to implement it. Then promote the use of emerging technologies and best practices to propose technology based solution. So apart from these soft skills, soft competencies, a student or a learner should have these hard, disciplinary, we call them disciplinary competencies or hard competencies, after he leaves your institute and before he goes to the workplace. Then moving on to the second important component of education 4.0, that is the learning methods. The learning methods we use are modalities and methods which we use are face to face, which has been used since long, active learning. Then we have online, distance learning. Then we have hybrid blended learning, challenge based learning, problem based learning, learning by doing, and others. Like one of you also told us that we should have problem based learning, and ma'am was telling us experiential learning. So these are the methods which are there, which are part of education 4.0s for the education system. Now, moving forward, when we go to information ICT, information and communication technologies, there we have, if you see here, there we have technology based and tool based or different platforms. Technology based Internet of Things, we have already understood these are the new technologies, and I will be showing you how these technologies have been used in the education 4.0 system. Artificial intelligence, machine learning, cloud computing, cyber physical systems, data science and data analytics, mixed reality, and others. And what are the tools which we require in education 4.0? Web conference platforms, learning management systems, collaborative virtual platforms. Then we have MOOCs. Then we have remote and cyber physical labs. Then we have robot teaching assistants and hologram teachers and others. So these are some of the new tools, platforms, apart from face to face teacher learner teaching. You all are aware of these tools. And infrastructure, what is infrastructure required for education 4.0? In the infrastructure at the school level, we can have use of classroom level, we can have use of innovative furniture. I will give you few examples of these innovative furnitures which they are already using. Some tools, devices and equipment, use of specific architecture, colors, illumination, sounds, temperature, connected rooms, virtual and digital universities. We are already having these digital classrooms, digital universities, sustainable universities, open innovation laboratories, and smart learning environments, others. So, dear participants, first of all, we understood the journey from education 1.0 to education 1.0 to education 4.0. And now these are the four core components of education 4.0 which are required. Now, how we can integrate industry 4.0 technologies in education 4.0? Here I will be sharing some examples. Then I will like to take some input from the participants also, where they have used these technologies, latest technologies, for their education systems, where they have made some project or something and they have used these technologies in education 4.0. Now, one technology which we listed in Industry 4.0 was Internet of Things. So, IoT is an open network of intelligent objects that are capable of self-organizing, providing real-time information, data and resources, responding to environmental changes and situations, and taking relevant action. So, the operation basis of IoT is the presence of various objects around us when cooperating and interacting with the help of common goal. Now, with the help of IoT, how the IoT can be used by teachers? If you are utilizing IoT, then teachers would spend less time on organizational matters related to documents. So, if you introduce IoT, the documentation work can be reduced and more time can be spent on working with students to monitor their progress. So, how the Internet of Things is been used? Certain institutes, certain schools what they are doing at the entrance doors and doors to the individual classes, they have these sensors which monitor the presence of students on the premises. That means you don't need to take the attendance. If you have this IoT in the institutes, then you automatically know that this student is now present here, he is in the ground, he is in the class, he is attending the classroom. So Internet of Things is actually the if some sensor is introduced. Another thing which they are using is student lockers. In certain schools, in certain institutes, there are lockers where the students, they keep their things, their textbook and other student school supplies. So if we apply Internet of Things to the lockers, then automatically the parent or the teacher can come to know, okay, that particular student locker is having these books, this particular book he has taken at home, now he has kept it back in the locker. So if we connect this IoT to the student's locker, we can get the information about the student, what he is reading, what he is studying. Another way is Internet of Things is in benches and students chairs. See, if you have some IoT sensor connected to the chair of the student and even to the chair or bench of the teacher, then by appropriate sensors, then they can automatically adjust their height to the height of the student. Like we have these IoT sensors in some certain cars, you can adjust your seat accordingly, according to your height or according to the. So if you have these IoT sensors in the chairs or the benches, the adjustment of the chair and the bench of the student as well as of the teacher, that can be done through that of through these sensors. Another way of using Internet of Things in education is surveillance cameras, which can be located in the corridors. Already, many of the institutes have these cameras. These can be now and connected to the fields. And also, see, another thing is during COVID, we have seen that we can also have thermal sensors. Automatically, when a student is entering the class, if there is a thermal sensor, then they can identify the student, teacher, or other staff, including those who have an elevated body temperature, like in airports and all, they were measuring our temperature. So we can have these thermal sensors also in the education system, and we can identify that. Then surveillance cameras and public address systems to monitor the premises, that already we are doing. Surveillance cameras are there for monitoring. So this is how, these are few examples where Internet of Thing technology can be used in our in our current education system, and we can take the help of this technology in our education system. Moving further, so this we have already done. Even we can have surveillance cameras, speakers and microphones, so that if you are conducting a class in a traditional way, means in a face-to-face manner, if some student is not able to attend the class due to illness or other reason, then he can participate in the class from a different place, from his home or from some other place. This is how we can utilize this. Then if we have smart watches, then we can also monitor the students health, using like the smart watches we are having. So even the student, if the student is having some physical education class, then they can use these smart watches for noting down the health of the student also during games and all. Then smart watches and smartphones designed to inform the students and their parents. See, we can also use these smart watches or smartphones to display or to share the class schedule, homework, out of school activities, training plans, or learning progress. So we can have these watches, like they are giving you some alerts, health alerts. So these smart watches can also be used to giving some alerts to the parents, your kid is not attending the class, or this is the alert for their performance at the school level. So like this, they stay connected with the institute. Now, how we can use the cloud computing technology for education 4.0? So cloud computing, we know it is a technology that allows access to system resources and data processing by the internet. So it enables the educational data to be collected and analyzed through cloud computing software. If you have all data at one place, you can collect it. You can use that data cloud computing system for evaluating the students' work, for evaluation of survey data, recorded classroom videos, recorded video data from the institute surveillance system. That means if through cloud computing you are recording all this data, you can retrieve the information and you can use it for analysis or for any calculations or for any feedback. Then another technology which we can use in education 4.0 is big data analytics processing large and diverse data sets. So big data aims to improve institutes' operation, optimize the education process of each student. See, you can track the student progress throughout their education experience from kindergarten to college to university. Means if you have the entire data, that means a student how he did in up to 10th class, then he came to the polytechnic in the first year, second year, third year. So using this data analytics, we can have the entire track of the student. Like these days we are talking about the credit bank of credits, where the student will have the previous credits and it will be added to the next credits. So similarly we can track the entire education system, and we can have a sort of credit system for that. So we can create and modify the development path of each student, adapt the educational. If you have that entire feedback, then you can also see the educational abilities of the students. For example, if from starting from first year to last year, if you have the entire data of one student, you will come to know, you can make some charts, you can take some outcome, okay, how this student is doing. Maybe a student is doing good in some programming, maybe a student is good in some lab work. So we can come to know his competencies if we have the entire data of the student. So taking into account disability and other development, and also if certain student has certain disability, that also we can come to know. So optimizing big data can also be used for optimizing the institute's running cost. What is the water consumption, electricity bill and all, if you have the previous data. So that also you can correlate. Then how we can use augmented reality in education 4.0. Augmented reality can be defined as a reality that has three basic features: a combination of real and virtual worlds, real-time integration, and accurate recording of virtual and real objects. So at institute, augmented reality can be used to navigate in the building. So using this augmented reality, you can navigate. So it can be used for various educational uses. You will be having few sessions where they will be telling you how you can use this augmented reality during your field classes to get to know the world around. So complemented by virtual elements that relate to past, present, and future. So another technology is we can use is autonomous process organization. So that refers to autonomous production, organization of components of the educational process with minimum human participation. For example, the planning which you have to do, the planning of the year, the timetables which you do, the schedule which you make, the academic plans which you do, like every year you are making some timetable. So there also you can use this technology, that computer assisted technologies for making or for doing all this programming. I think many of the institutes are already using certain applications which allow them for automatic substitution for absent teachers and planning of education for each student. That means if a student or teacher is absent in a particular class, then automatically taking data, we have a program that the substitution can be done for the student. So quickly I will wrap up so that 5-10 minutes we have for taking your inputs where you are using these technologies in your institute. Another way of using this is advanced robots, and which we call as co-robots or cobots. So advanced robots or co-robots, which we call as cobots, they cooperate and interact physically. We all are familiar with robots. So they can be used in institutes for education. They can use for cleaning the institute corridors. Already you can see these cleaning machines are already being used on roads and all. So they can be used in institute corridors. Robots designed to prepare teaching resource, they can help in preparing the teaching resources. Then they can help to distribute meals also in canteens, like we are using robots in certain your other eateries and restaurants. So they can be used. Then they can assist students with special educational needs. Then they can also be used for controlling lighting, air temperature, water, electricity consumption on the institute's premises. So this is how we can use this advanced technology, robots or cobots, in our education system. Then we also talked about horizontal and vertical integration. So a type of strategy based on vertical and horizontal organization, So here the use of digital media in the process of horizontal education involving the activities of a student at a certain age. Vertical integration means what are the vertically from one educational state to second educational stage, how he is moving, like I told you before. Okay, after first year, second year, third year, vertically also we know, okay, what are the specific competencies which he has learned. So, dear participants, these are the characteristics of education 4.0 in brief. On the left hand side, you will see the learning characteristics, and on the right hand side, you will see the skills. So, most of these characteristics we have covered during our session. Problem based and collaborative learning, you have understood. Then lifelong and student driven learning. Then global citizenship skills, innovation and creativity skills should be there, technology skills should be there, interpersonal skills should be there, personalized and self-paced learning, accessible and inclusive learning. So on the left hand side you will see the four learning techniques, and on the right hand side you will see the different skills which a student need to have in education 4.0: innovative, global, technological and interpersonal skills. Now, before I move further, we still have 10-12 minutes. Based upon these new technologies, which I have taken from some institutes which are already using these Industry 4.0 technologies, I would like to take some input from the, before we move further, from the participants, if they have used these technologies in their institutes. Any of the technologies which you have used in your institute, or any faculty who is utilizing this latest technologies in their teaching learning process. In the last section, I have certain challenges of Industry 4.0, which we can also cover in the last session, where I will be telling you about the core technologies of Industry 4.0. Today, we have learned these technologies and how they are implemented in Education 4.0. In the last session, we will understand the basics of these technologies and the challenges, like ma'am was saying, that there are certain challenges also. One major challenge is that of the job, the employment, which is a big problem. Second, as I was telling you about Industry 4.0, people are not keen for change. They don't want to change. That is a big problem. Whenever some new technology change comes, they don't want to change that technology. They don't want to adapt to the new technology. So, dear participants, now I would request you to give your inputs, how you have used any of these technologies for your institute, in your classroom, anyone who has used this. Shivangi ma'am?
नो मैडम, फिलहाल वही ट्रेडिशनल मेथड ये है, बस ये है कि अपनी वीडियो बना के फेसबुक पे, यूट्यूब पे अपलोड कर देता हूँ और फिर उनको दिखा देता हूँ। खुद पढ़ाता
देखो,
हूँ,
दिस
उसके
इज
बाद फिर
आल्सो,
यूट्यूब पे वीडियो दिखाता हूँ अपनी खुद की बनी हुई, तो थोड़ा
दैट इज
बच्चों
वेरी
को थोड़ा
गुड सर।
रिवाइज हो जाता है अच्छे से।
बहुत अच्छा सर, बहुत अच्छा. If you are doing from your end, that you are making a video and putting on YouTube, that is also part of that. You are providing them online learning, so that is a good input, sir. Very good
Yes,
from
ma'am.
your part. Very good, Harinder ji. Anybody else? Yes.
Thank
Ma'am,
you.
in GI team, we are using it on a day-to-day basis.
What are you
Yes,
using?
means our assignments and things are going on Google Classrooms. Lecture are also being conducted over Classrooms, as well as the YouTube lecture also getting updated. Even in the last session, the presentation which I have to prepare, I just put it on ChatGPT, get down my presentation contents, basics, guidelines, and then prepared the presentation accordingly, which is related to the updated technologies accordingly.
Wonderful, sir. Wonderful. So we can, that is good, sir. Is also using the latest technology, Chat GPT, for making presentations. See, it will be removing the redundant time. You are copy paste, doing copy and paste, that things which do not require much technical knowledge. So the time is being saved by these new technologies, so that you can use your work, use your mind, or utilize your time for other fruitful things. So wonderful, GITM Lucknow, for their inputs, that they are already using online classes, and they are using Chat GPT for various purposes, for writing letter, for writing, for making presentations. Wonderful, sir. Wonderful. Any other participant, any input? Anyone using this online, any online? See, after COVID, we all are familiar. Okay, online teaching everybody is using, but if you are doing a little bit from your side, like making a video is, sir, what another thing you can do is, Rinder sir, you can make that video in your mother tongue, or the students, if you are in Punjab, maybe in Punjabi. So if you do in your regional language, then it will be helpful for students for understanding also. And another thing we can do is the labs which we have, the experimentations which we have, in the if in that experimentation we can perform the experiment and put the videos in the regional language. Okay, yes, yes,
Good evening, ma'am.
yes, from
Good
good
evening,
evening, ma'am.
Our students are familiar using ChatGPT for thesis writing and presenting their presentations as well. So they are putting their problems on ChatGPT and finding solutions if they stuck out at any place. So ChatGPT is helping a lot to students as well.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. If students are using, taking help of that, that is wonderful, wonderful. From JCDM, Sitsa, thank you, ma'am. Any other input? We still have 4 5 minutes before we wrap up. We can have some inputs. See, if you will give your input, see, I have given you, and I will be sharing this presentation also with you. I have given you some inputs, but more, it is more fruitful if we get the input from all others, some interaction from others. What this is how now we are in a this is how we will get to know what other institutes are doing. This is how we peer learning, we can say. This is now peer learning we are doing from each other. Okay, this institute is doing this institute is doing this, so we come to know, and we by interaction only. Anyone else who wants to give their input? So I think if there are no more inputs, today we will end here. And tomorrow at sharp 10 o'clock, we all will meet. I request once again all the remote center coordinators to kindly keep their videos on, and also all the participants to stay connected for the entire time of the sessions, because the attendance is taken automatically. So once again, thank you everyone for being participative. Thank you, Ramesh ji, and for interacting during the session.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, madam. Thank you.
Thank you, Reena Malik ji. Thank you.